Daybreak Africa is your one-stop top-notch breakfast show that brings you all the interesting stories happening in and around Africa.
Because we have all the morning essentials,
including the latest news, sports, weather, and events.
And of course, the people.
Daybreak Africa on Television Nigerian.
Weekdays, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m.
It is another bright and beautiful day, and we are glad to know that you are with us on Daybreak Africa on Television Nigeria. My name is Elvis Oga, and I'd like to say a very beautiful good morning to you.
And my name is Messi Joe. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Abuja. How was your night?
Yeah, my night was okay. How about yours?
It was fine.
I can see that you're actually looking so radiant this morning.
Really?
Yeah.
Radiant is my second name.
Yeah. Basically, it's actually a WCW Woman Crush Wednesday, so I'm not surprised.
So who's your woman crush Wednesday?
Women like you actually trying to say that we have a better situation, a better society.
Yes.
Okay, talking about people trying to see that we have a better society. We've seen people that joined the conversation and the hashtag that have been trending in the country. So we're still talking about the cases of rape or violence and possibly the unfair treatment of people in different quarters or different parts of the world. So yesterday, the case about the rape was still trending, where people were trying to mention the real age of consent. So I think it's better it would be very okay or important that we discuss or talk about this more.
Yes, now the age of consent in Nigeria, quite a tussle there between the age of 11 and 18. Probably some websites get to say 11 years is the actual age of consent, but
if you look at it critically, you see that that 11 years is actually what was contained in the Constitution in the 1990. But after then, we've actually had our Constitution amended in 1999, and then we have several acts that have been passed that actually address some of those things. So you wanted to talk about that.
So let me get the truth is that the real age of consent in Nigeria is 18, not 11 as speculated. I will quote Section 31 of the Child's Rights Act 2003, which states that where a person is charged with an offense of unlawful sexual relations with a child under this section, it is immaterial that the offender believed the person to be or above the age of 18 years. Now, that is to say that it is believed that the real age of consent should be 18 or above 18. Now, that's the simple explanation.
If you go through that particular section of the Child Rights Act 2003, you just quoted section 31, subsection 3. Yes. Subsection 3A. And then if you go below it, you see the explanation of it, where they were trying to talk about why they had to put it that way. Is the fact that if not, it has to be someone must get to 18 before he accepts to involve in it. But basically, that's not even what the situation on ground had actually warrant. We're trying to see how the issue of rape has been living with us for a while now. And
what much has actually been done. You were talking about the penalty. How many years to be in jail for?
I think I saw a minimum of 12 years.
And now everyone's clamoring for it to be life imprisonment.
Because if capital punishment is actually being put forward for sex offenders, I think it will deter people from committing such a very dastard or criminal act.
True. We're talking about loans. The loan of last year from President Buhari that has now been granted by the lawmakers.
House of Representatives, precisely. You know, the upper chamber of the National Assembly, that's the Senate, actually granted it way back in March, and then when it got to House of Reps, they were trying to see how they could study some of the conditions of the loan and study some reports concerning it. So the loan was standard as of March, and then yesterday it was finally granted. And one thing to try to look at what these loans were actually meant to address. They were meant to address several issues like the power situation in Nigeria, which I've actually been talking about.
Yes,
so
I think you talked about bad roads as well.
Yeah, they did not actually include particularly which part of infrastructural sector is going to be deployed to, but they mentioned infrastructure, and then they were trying to see how it can be injected into the economy as well. Okay. But even though when it was being passed at the National Assembly, the upper chamber, Senate precisely, some senators from the southeastern part were complaining that
they are not seeing much
project from that part of the country. So basically, it's actually raising a whole lot of concern, especially considering the Nigerian debt profile at the moment, which is being seen to be around 26 point something trillion. Naira.
Because we still have this same government that has already borrowed 815 or 20 something
domestic loan
from well, that's regard for COVID-19.
Yeah, that was last month. And then there's another request for another loan of about $5.513 billion.
That's like amounting to about
2 trillions of naira. So Nigerians are actually trying to see, okay, if we've seen that some loans have actually been procured in the past, how well have we actually see that we use those loans very well? If we can account for these things and then see how we'll go about before we talk about getting more loans. I think it will repose the confidence of Nigerians to see that it's being handled. But if you take a look at the debt profile of the country, and then you see the domestic debt profile compared to the foreign lenders, it will give you, I think, a little reason not to be too scared, because out of the 26 trillion naira debt profile that Nigeria is having at the moment, about 18 is from the domestic lenders, while about 8 is from the foreign lenders. But regardless, Nigerians still want to see that, okay, if we are borrowing, let's feel the impact.
Quite detailed there. Nigeria recorded 241 new cases yesterday, bringing to a total of 10,819 cases in Nigeria. Discharged cases 2,239, and however, we have 314 deaths. Looking at that, it's still like on the ratio 97 versus 3%.
Yeah, considering the rate of infection and then the death, right? But if you look at the infection and the discharge, I think there's a little bit of alteration to that already, because when we are having close to 11,000 cases with still struggling about 2,000 plus
almost 3,000 discharges, it's still not near half.
Yeah, so I think that has changed a lot, and then the case of the death has actually it's increasing,
having 15 deaths in a day, unlike before.
It's a serious, it's an issue of serious concern at the moment, because I remember when we were talking about 190 something, and all of a sudden 200, and that was like last week.
Yes.
And then how did we jump from having increasing cases of about 4 or 6 per day to just yesterday we had about 15
deaths? How?
And when I think that was when so many people were talking about, okay, if we are going to have the lockdown being eased further, or where people are clamoring for the total lifting of the lockdown, Nigerians really ready to see that these guidelines are actually followed religiously.
Yeah, because we can see that the cases are increasing. Deaths are also increasing now, and we're still clamoring and happy that lots of things are going to be reopened.
It is not for old people alone. Gargling salt and warm water or chewing garlic and ginger cannot prevent the virus. Drinking alcohol, hot lemon, palm oil or chloroquine will not kill the virus. The virus cannot be transmitted through mosquito bites. Antibiotics do not work against the viruses. Antibiotics work only against bacteria. Boiling pineapple peels, lime, and ginger does not kill the virus. Putting raw onions in rooms will not ward off the virus. Using or spraying Dettol, special oils, and water all over your body cannot kill the virus. There is no scientific evidence that cooking, drinking, or eating any of these is an effective treatment for coronavirus. Do not self-medicate and take responsibility by sharing only verified messages from health authorities such as NCDC, Federal Ministry of Health, and WHO.
Good morning and welcome to AM News. I am Susan Achin. At least 100,000 people, including some coronavirus patients, were being moved to safer locations, according to officials Tuesday, as India's west coast braced for a cyclone, the first such storm to threaten Mumbai in more than 70 years. Authorities in India's financial capital, which is struggling to contain the pandemic, evacuated nearly 150 COVID-19 patients from a recently built field hospital to a facility with a concrete roof as a precautionary measure, officials said. The Chief Minister of Maharashtra, state of which Mumbai is the capital, said people living in flimsy homes near the shore were being moved to safer places before Cyclone Nisarga makes its scheduled landfall on Wednesday afternoon or evening. President Muhammadu Buhari has assured Dr. Akinwumi Adesina of Nigeria's support in his bid to seek a second term in office as the president of the African Development Bank, AFDB. The president gave the assurance on Tuesday through his special advisor on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, while hosting the AFDB president on a courtesy visit. The president pledged Nigeria would work with all other leaders and stakeholders in AFDB to ensure that Dr. Adesina is elected for a second term based on the record of his achievements during his first term. Now, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 says it does not recommend that people should go to places of worship, but if they have to, the task force will provide guidelines that would make it safe to do so. The PTF National Coordinator Sani Aliyu said this at a briefing on Tuesday. In a set of guidelines later released by the PTF, places of worship were asked to comply with measures such as the mandatory use of face masks by worshippers, provision of hand-washing spots at the entrances, use of hand sanitizers with at least 60% alcohol content, and mandatory temperature checks. The PTF also mandated that facilities be structured in a way that physical distancing is observed, while the time of worship services should not be more than 1 hour. The number of health workers who have tested positive coronavirus has increased to 812. The Director General of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, Dr. Chike Ihekwazu, disclosed this on Tuesday at the briefing of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, which held in Abuja. He explained that 29 officials of the NCDC were among the health workers who got exposed to COVID-19 in the line of duty. The Lagos State government has ruled out the possibility of reopening churches and mosques in the state. The Commissioner of the Home Affairs, Prince Anofiu Elegushi, disclosed this on Tuesday on the sideline of the 2020 ministerial press briefing commemorating the first year of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu in office. Elegushi said the possibility that the reopening of churches and mosques in state was ruled out after state government met with some religious leaders. And on a brighter note, the Lagos State government has discharged 33 more COVID-19 patients from its isolation centers after they recovered and tested negative to the virus. In a statement on Tuesday, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu said the latest discharge consisted of 7 females and 26 males, including 3 Indians. This now brings the number of COVID-19 patients successfully managed and discharged in the state to 908. Similarly, the Kaduna State government says it will not reopen markets or places of worship until further notice as the nation continues to battle the COVID-19. This was disclosed in a statement issued on Tuesday by the special advisor to the state governor, Muyiwa Adeke. And on to the entertainment scene, Nigerian singer David Adeleke, professionally known as Davido, appears to have gotten involved in an accident as new photos, which have since gone viral on social media, show the singer using crutches to aid his movements. The news was shared by his friend and lawyer Bobo Ajudua, who took to his Instagram page to share the photos of Davido at the hospital. Sharing the photos, Ajudua said they were grateful the singer did not have any shows to perform at, as the injury would have hindered him. And that's it on AM News. I am Susan Achim.
Good morning.
Good morning, Susan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So many items on the news.
Lots and lots.
Most of them actually are talked about COVID-19, but so much concern about Indians bracing up for
cyclone.
It's great to know that it's anticipated. Yeah, they are aware and they've started taking precautionary measures already. I'm imagining a situation whereby they would have been taken unawares. That would have been really disastrous.
Very disastrous.
Seeing that, COVID-19 patients are also at risk.
You
being
remember
affected by that.
when COVID-19 came at those initial stages where a particular country was asked to go in for lockdown, and then there was an earthquake and they were asked to move
Yes.
It was really
it's quite disastrous.
Talking about devastating moments amid COVID-19.
Yeah.
It's great. They've moved them to safer places, so there will be no cause for worry.
Reopening of churches. I think some states are getting their own measures. Different states, different severity, so they know what should be done. Someone like Lagos, I wouldn't expect them to be trying to open
they
up.
have literally just been leading.
They are top.
I mean, the cases of COVID-19 have been on the rise, although we've been seeing recoveries. But then, the PTF has come out to provide some guidelines, saying that if people do not have to go, but if they would go, then there's certain precautionary measures that have to be observed, like having all those they have to be temperature checks at the entrances,
hand sanitizers,
water dispensing,
running water,
so
they can wash their hands.
And yesterday when we were talking about it, Mrs. actually highlighted all of this when she was asking how many religious centers can actually afford some of those things.
Because we have even little startup churches that are probably even doing it at their backyard.
I mean, so it's very disturbing because we are even looking at we look at the churches that are not so populated and all that are just coming up. But then what about the larger ones? You know how much time it will take. I'm saying, checking from experience, I went to church before the lockdown got really severe, and that church actually took precautionary measures. They actually tested everyone's temperature at the entrance. I was tired. It was such a long process, and we weren't even maintaining social distancing at that time, but they were actually checking and they made sure everyone had, sanitizers, they sanitized everyone's hand before they got in. And the process was really tiring and exhausting. And I'm wondering, how we have the largest churches, here in Nigeria and all that. So I'm wondering how this process is going to be possible. With time, I'm seeing a situation whereby they might actually get tired. That is even my fear, because even if they want to start, subsequently you have thousands of people coming to church and you have to line up to be.
Yeah, even the parishioners themselves may eventually get tired of the process.
Because at the end of the day, they're saying just 1 hour, at places of worship and mosque and churches, so we are wondering how are we going to, and even mosque, we see the large, a crowd and congregation, that gathers.
We know how they always pack and they always want to be together praying.
So like you really pointed out, different states with different severity. I think one beautiful thing that the presidential task force has been able to do with enforcing the guidelines and everything is just that they still leave it open for the states to manage the way it suits them best and almost. So looking at states like Lagos, Kaduna, and the other states that say they are not opening their religious centers at the moment, one is not really surprised because, like you said, Lagos has been leading.
Yes.
And then if you see how Lagos has been going about the whole COVID-19 stuff, you see that there's some stuff they actually put out. You see that if you wish everybody or the federal government actually copy it, it will go a long way.
Yes. A case of, I think it was Delta State, where the governor was threatening and saying if people do not maintain guidelines, they will be shutting down the markets.
Shut down the markets as well.
And all that. So like I was saying earlier, I said it is better that we bring this to smaller circles. That way it's easier to handle it. Then the federal government can oversee the general people. But then it's good that states, because it's you're going to bear the brunt of whatever happens. If you see that your state has not gotten to the point where you should reopen places of worships, and you are going ahead because every other person is doing so. You are the one at risk, and your state is putting them at risk.
Yeah, because different people are still getting infected. The deputy governor of Bauchi State has now been tested positive.
You can imagine.
In the same state where the the governor
came on.
talk about that. All right. Thank you very much, Susan.
All right, you're welcome.
We'll now go across Africa for some more news. Stay with us.
Across Africa on Daybreak Africa. Now, Ethiopia says it is dismayed at recent cross-border incursions along its common border with Sudan and has called for Sudanese authorities to allow for diplomacy to lead the search for an amicable solution. In a statement released on Sunday, May 31, the Ethiopian Foreign Ministry expressed its deep sympathy and condolences to the family of the victims of both countries. The statement continued in part, in the spirit of containing the situation on ground and avoiding any further tension, the ministry urges that the two countries should work together through existing military mechanisms to address and jointly investigate circumstances surrounding the incident. The statement came barely 24 hours after Sudan's foreign ministry said it summoned Ethiopia's diplomat to the country over a cross-border attack allegedly conducted by a militia backed by Ethiopia's military. Now, Thursday's attack in the eastern province of Al-Kadriv killed at least one officer and one child, and Sudan's military said in a statement. 7 Sudanese troops, including an officer and 3 civilians, were also wounded, according to the statement. Ethiopian farmers have for years planted crops in Sudan's Al-Fasaka border area, but the government of former President Omar al-Bashir had tolerated incursions. Sudanese transitional authorities, who took over after the military's ouster of al-Bashir last year amid months of long protests, have recently engaged in talks with Ethiopia to withdraw Ethiopian farmers behind Sudanese borders. At least 10 people died and 12 others were wounded on Sunday when an explosive device ripped through a minibus outside the Somali capital Mogadishu, the government said. The explosion occurred near Lafole village along Afgoye, Mogadishu, where the passenger bus was traveling early in the day. Witnesses say the minibus was completely destroyed and described a horrific scene with dead passengers and the severely wounded survivors. Hazan Mohammed, who lost a brother in the incident, says, "So far, I saw about 5 dead bodies here in the hospital. Some of the passengers were killed in the bomb attack. I have only recognized my brother and his minibus assistant." No group immediately claimed responsibility for the bombing, but Al-Qaeda-aligned Shabab group carries out regular attacks in and around the capital, often killing civilians and members of the security forces. Many South Africans spent their Monday morning lining up outside liquor stores as alcohol sales were allowed again after a 2-month ban because of the coronavirus break. But while South Africa, with the continent's most developed economy and the highest number of confirmed cases of COVID-19, relaxed a strict lockdown, the reopening of most school classes was delayed and there was debate about how churches could safely resume services. The government postponed the planned opening of 2 grades for another week so that some underprepared schools could get ready to resume classes for grades 7 and 12, the final years of elementary school and high school. Places of worship were allowed to open from Monday with limits on the number of people in congregations, yet many religious groups said they will refuse the opportunity. They said they were concerned about the danger of allowing people to gather in an enclosed building, something health experts warned against, and some also said that limiting the number of people who could come into their church is against their values. South Africa has reported over 32,000 COVID-19 cases and more than 600 people have died. The government warns that the number of infections will continue to increase and the peak is not expected until August or September. Still, the realization of the alcohol ban came as a relief to many who chose restocking their liquor cabinets instead of going straight to work on the day much of the country's economy also reopened. And universities and high schools reopened in Tanzania on Monday, despite very little information on the exact figures of the spread of the coronavirus in the country. On the campus of the University of Dar es Salaam, new hand-washing stations have been installed. Some students welcomed the decision but called for strict compliance with preventive measures. President John Magufuli, who also announced the return of sport competition, assured that the pandemic was in a sharp decline, much to the displeasure of the opposition. The latest figures released on April 29 showed 480 cases, including 16 fatalities. On Monday, the government lifted the suspension on domestic and international flights put in place since May 7. It said those entering the country will not be subjected to mandatory quarantine. The World Health Organization says it will continue to support the Democratic Republic of Congo to battle a fresh outbreak of the deadly Ebola viral disease. On Monday, Congolese health authorities announced 6 cases in the north near Mbandaka in the Equator province with 4 deaths. This marks the second time Ebola has hit Equator province in as many years. An outbreak in 2018 killed 33 people before the disease was brought under control in a matter of months there. The DRC has yet to declare an official end to Ebola in its troubled east, where at least 2,243 people have died since the epidemic began in August 2018. The Central African nation is already dealing with the coronavirus pandemic. That is the much we have for you on News Across Africa. Daybreak Africa continues shortly. Stay tuned.
That was News Across Africa right there on Daybreak Africa here on Television Nigeria. We'll now take you straight to our newspaper review segment where we take a look at some headlines making rounds some of the national dailies. Okay, we have our headlines from the Guardian newspaper, which says Lagos, Osun, Kwara retain ban on religious centers. That is the banner headline from the Guardian newspaper. And then we have below the picture story, why government's move against memo leakage may fail by experts. Above, below the nameplate, we have Senate OK's FG's $5.5 billion loan request. That story is on the page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. And then reps urge recruitment of 100,000 soldiers to tackle insecurity. PDP wants government to fix fuel price at 17 naira. And Senate confirms 37 FCC nominees despite Abaribe's objection. All of these stories are on the Guardian newspaper. So you want to get the details of them, please pick a copy of the Guardian newspaper.
Okay. Lagos, Osun, Kwara to retain ban on religious centers. So like we said earlier with Susan, different states and their own severity and bringing out their own measures, deciding if they should reopen or not reopen.
And the case of the loan is actually appearing again. When the last loan that was submitted by the president to the National Assembly for it to be checked, Senate has already okayed the loan. And every time when loan requests are being submitted, we see that the Senate is always going ahead to accept before we have House of Reps come behind to talk about it. And initially, you recall what happened, what characterized the election of the National Assembly then, when Senator Ahmed Lawa emerged as the Senate President. So many people were talking about the culture of check and balance, because it seems if the legislative arm and the executive arm of the government seems to have a smooth relationship too much, most people feel it will hamper some of the democratic tendencies that are therein. So I wouldn't know if Nigerians will want to see that from this perspective.
All right. Moving to the Daily Sun newspaper. Headline, as federal government releases guidelines for worship centers reopening, attendance register must for churches, mosque. That's on page 6 and 7 of the Daily Sun newspaper. Below the picture nameplate, Edda community petitions IGP over alleged murder, torture, rape. That's on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Sun newspaper. Beside that, Kalu to leave prison soon as court orders his freedom. We talked about he's released one time, and so now it's actually going to be in effect.
Most Nigerians are actually concerned if the court actually nullified the sentence or the judgment that actually put him behind bars, and then he was still in prison, and then we had people from the appropriate authorities came out to talk about the reason why he was still held in prison or incarceration. They were saying, okay, the court has actually nullified the judgment or the sentence that actually put him in prison, but they have not gotten notification, or they have not gotten notification
that he should be released.
But for the fact that they are saying this, that means the court has actually said, let them release him.
He should go. So that's on page 4 of the Daily Sun newspaper. So you might want to get the newspaper to get a view of that. I'll take this last headline here. Succession crisis rocks NIIA. 2 persons lay claim to acting DG will ensure right will ensure right thing is done, pledges federal government. That's on page 7 of the Daily Sun newspaper.
Most times I don't really know what people tend to look at when they hold sway to certain positions.
Yes.
Basically, if people are out to serve, and maybe some people that you are meant to serve do not have that confidence in you, I don't know why people should try all their best or see that they could even kill to get to certain positions.
To beat that system.
So it's not really good. It's something we need to look into and change our attitude towards if we really want to go far as a nation. A quick look at the Nation newspaper shows a headline, government, if you are 55 and above, avoid mosque and churches. Why Kalu remains in prison. That is coming from the Nation newspaper, and that story is on the page 10. And then IG takes over probe of Uniben students killing. So long, reggae icon Majek Fashek. You can also find the picture story talking about the visit of the president of the AFDB to the president of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, as we have the caption, Buhari to work with others for additional re-election. That story is on the page 8 of the Nation newspaper.
Talking about Buhari pledging for additional re-election.
You know, the other day when we were talking about some of the allegations leveled against him, we were trying to see how much he has actually been able to do with his first tenure as at the aim of affairs of the African Development Bank, and then what are the forces behind those allegations that we want to see him being re-elected again. I remember vividly Victor was talking about maybe some people from other parts of the world are feeling threatened by the way he's getting things right, because that will take away our over-dependence of these external forces, and you know what that means. So he was actually looking at it from that angle. And then government warning people above 55
to stay home.
And
they shouldn't go to churches or mosque. Well, that's a very good advice for the elderly, because we know they are the ones that are prone to COVID, more prone to COVID-19.
True.
So
and then if you take a look at the mortality rate, they are the ones that are actually the cases of recoveries have actually been felt or been seen in the youthful age, more than
younger ones, more than the older ones.
So it's a very good advice.
So it's a good advice that they should stay back home, because anyway, let's take a look at this Daily Times. Below the picture nameplate, federal government directs senior officers, workers on essential services to resume work. Beside that, let's go on a quick break. We'll be right back.
There are a lot of false information about the coronavirus. These are the facts. People of all ages can be affected by the coronavirus. However, older people and people with pre-existing medical conditions such as asthma, diabetes, heart diseases are more vulnerable to the disease. It is not for old people alone. Gargling salt and warm water or chewing garlic and ginger cannot prevent the virus. Drinking alcohol, hot lemon, palm oil or chloroquine will not kill the virus. The virus cannot be transmitted through mosquito bites. Antibiotics do not work against the viruses. Antibiotics work only against bacteria. Boiling pineapple peels, lime and ginger does not kill the virus. Putting raw onions in rooms will not ward off the virus. Using or spraying Dettol, special oils and water all over your body cannot kill the virus. There is no scientific evidence that cooking, drinking or eating any of these is an effective treatment for coronavirus. Do not self-medicate and take responsibility by sharing only verified messages from health authorities such as NCDC, Federal Ministry of Health and WHO.
Coronavirus no be our friend, yo. Make we push am comot, yo. Corona, he no be our friend, yo. Say make we push am comot, yo.
My country people, you see this coronavirus, no be joke. Make we help ourselves and our government pursue this yamayama sickness from our country. Make we remember to wash our hand every time with soap and water. Make we no forget to sanitize our hand and wear face mask when we dey come out. Also, make we avoid crowd and keep social distancing when we come out. My people, if you see say you don't dey get symptoms, make you rush go hospital make dem treat you. Coronavirus no be our friend though. Make we remember say prevention better pass cure.
Coronavirus no be our friend oh. Make we push am comot yo. Corona no be our friend oh. Say make we push am comot yo.
Welcome back to Daybreak Africa on television Nigeria. We were on our newspaper review segment before we went on that much needed break to attend to some technicalities. Thanks for staying tuned.
All right, still on this Daily Times newspaper. Below the picture nameplate, Lagos Fourth Mainland Bridge construction begins early 2021. That's from the Deputy Governor. Kano denies producing adulterated fertilizer. So you might want to get this Daily Times newspaper to get a view of the whole stories there.
Wow. I think I like that particular one about Lagos State. They're about to commence the construction of the Fourth Mainland Bridge. People have been talking about it. There was this time where repairs were being done on the Third Mainland Bridge and people were concerned, especially what is happening at the Second Niger Bridge there too, because people have been complaining that there have been a series of vibrations on the first Niger Bridge when the vehicular movement. So they were calling on the federal government to hasten the construction of the second Niger Bridge to see that it's being completed on time. All right, let's take a look at the Punch newspaper, and we have some interesting headlines here. Federal government gives National Assembly 27 billion naira for renovation, cuts health and UBE votes. Government slashes primary health care centers fund from 444 billion naira to 25.5 billion naira. UBE 111.7 billion naira to 51.1 billion naira. Federal legislators raise oil benchmark to $28 per barrel. Reduce output. Excess crude account illegal. That is coming from some reps. National Assembly approves Buhari's $5.5 billion budget loan and then $22.7 billion facility. That story is on the page 27 on the Punch newspaper, and on the page 12 you can find the story of we can't reopen churches, mosques now. Lagos, Osun, Oyo, Ekiti, and then FIRS tops scores recruited by Fowler from resuming rather, and that story is on the page 9. Series of stories there. So because of time, let's take a look at the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Above the nameplate, Justice for Uwa. Fish out Uniben students, killers. Buhari tells police. That's on page 53. Talking about Uwa's death and Buhari telling the police to fish out the... Yesterday we saw that the Inspector General of Police actually asked for the case to be transferred to the first headquarters in Abuja as soon as possible, and we saw that President Muhammadu Buhari came out to react to it. An issue as sensitive as this actually demands a reaction from top officials of the government to see that people know that we have government officials actually being aware of such cases, so that people...
Doesn't look like there's a silence from the government, like maybe in regard of the issue. Fans mourn as Magic Fashek dies at 57. So is it 57 or 71?
No, you recall yesterday when we were talking about his age, before we came on set, we were trying to do our own investigation and analysis concerning the age, because some people reported 71, others reported 57. And then we were looking at, okay, Nigeria as a country is going to be 60 this year, and he probably must have been born after independence, and we're trying to see how, if our leaders should still be in their septuagenarian ages, and then we should expect that he should be younger than some of our leaders. So I think 57 might be a good one.
There will be a logical explanation to that some other time.
Sure.
All right, still beside that, reps approve $22.799 billion external loan. That's on page 6 of the Tribune newspaper. Still below the picture nameplate, AFDB crisis. Additional gets Buhari support, says my defense ran into 250 pages. That's on page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper.
It's actually a good one to see that people who have seen the much addition has done for Africa as a continent, and then AFDB as a sector, as an institution, trying to see how they can rally support for him for his re-election, especially Nigeria having been the second highest shareholder, the first highest shareholder, because I know that position is either between them. Okay, after US, right? So it's actually a good one, and we see how that will go, and if he can get re-election and he consolidate on some of his much achievement in the first tenure, who knows, Africa might not remain the same any longer.
All right.
For good. And we also have the last paper we'll be treating for the day here, which is the Business Day. And we have stories still concerning Adesina here on AFDB. Adesina gets Nigerian support for re-election bid. The banner headline we have from this publication says, Nigerians still groan under crazy electricity bills as discos flout NERC's order abolition practice. You remember when the National Electricity Regulation Commission came out to see how the discos can actually expedite action on giving out the meters, because you see the issue of estimated billing is the highest rate of corruption as alleged by some people, where people tend, you don't know how much power someone has used, so how come you calculate the bill for this person?
Exactly.
So they came out to put a particular price that if someone is not using a meter, don't give him a price above that. But they report that this was actually flouting this order by this regulatory body.
Yes, because so many people complain, I don't have light, but at the end of the month they're coming to give me a bill that, well, when did I use the light? Where was the light that I didn't see it?
All right, I think that does it for the newspaper review segment.
So we move to the next segment of the program. Quick question: reasons why there are broken homes in Nigeria. Lots of reasons. Some say finances, some say this, some say that. But let's listen to what the people on the streets have to say about that.
A woman will go to the outside and go and be looking outside men and be sleeping with men, collecting money from them. And if he come back, when your husband asks him, where do you go? He will say, my friend, you don't have much to talk with me because you don't have the money.
When you claim that there should be gender parity or equality in a marriage, and you still want the man to be feeding you, is that not a conflict of thoughts? You say we are equal in a marriage, and you still want me to be feeding you.
Most especially arguments. Yes, when I talk, you replied. When I talk, you replied.
Any home that did not have God, that home can never stand. Even business, even anything.
You rule your own environment at your own time, and you want to extend the same rule to your children and grandchildren, which is not supposed to.
What do you think that causes separation in marriage? You have too many broken homes here and there in Nigeria. What do you think is the reason?
And the reason is the situation in the world now is very bad, to my own understanding. So many broken house, some caused by enemy, some caused by lack of understanding, different type, some caused lack of God in their midst, lack of prayer. Because once God have joined together, no one have any right to put an asunder.
My freedom, that is what men look for. By nature, men want freedom. No? So it takes a lot of commitment for you to live above that pressure, to say I want to remain in this marriage.
The problem, even money and understanding can cause problem between husband and wife. As a man now, I'm SSS. You understand what I mean? Is single, still searching. You understand? Because I have a woman that disappoints me because of we don't really understand ourselves. Because of little things. You understand? We have to understand ourselves, because even the Bible talks that the woman have to submit to her husband, and the woman
break down. You understand? So if there is foundation in any marriage with God, the foundation, and it will stand. So I think that's the only thing.
Say foundation, God and foundation. Okay, what can you say about Pastor Chris and wife that separated? Does it mean that there is no some foundation in that marriage?
You know, we cannot say, because the Bible says many are called but few are choosing. Do you understand? You cannot say, okay, because this person is serving God, yes, truly is really serving God, so we cannot judge based on that. But if truly you are a child of God and you are reading the Bible, you know what to do.
The father or the mother-in-law, they're supposed to know their responsibility. As a father, you're supposed to respect the wife of your son or the husband of your daughter. That is just it. If there is respect and sincerity, all this issue of broken home, crisis between father-in-law, mother-in-law will not even arise. You know, and most of this thing is out of selfish interest. You rule your own environment at your own time, and you want to extend the same rule to your children and grandchildren.
Well, I can't tell. It might be any reason based on to her or depending on the mother-in-law. So I can't say.
If your mother asks you not to marry this man again, your husband, what will you do?
I will ask her why.
She give you reasons.
Well, if I've already married my husband, my mother will not tell me not to marry the man again. No reason can just come to, no, there will be no reason. All I need to do, I have to try to talk to my mother to see reason why I should not leave my husband too.
If she give you tangible reason to leave her husband?
Well, for now, I don't think that will be possible for me, based on how I'm brought up and knowing the way of God. So I don't think my mother would tell me for any reason to leave my husband that I will leave.
Is she married?
She not married. So my advice to the family, first of all, they should be sincere in whatever they are doing. Secondly, they should also trust. There must be a trust of one another. Otherwise, everything will not work the way it's supposed to. So that is just my advice.
Different people bearing their mind there on what they feel causes broken homes in the society.
Yeah, some say that when God is not there,
when there is no,
when you didn't start with God,
no
you can't expect
God
to finish with God.
And someone was talking about the interference of in-laws.
Yes, like how the role that they play, probably disrespect coming in place and all that. And one person simply said, two things: sincerity and trust. Once the partners can be sincere to each other and they trust each other, probably, and understanding
and communication is actually key as well.
Understanding, because when you, as a partner, you know something is going wrong with this, you have to communicate. If not, that other person will not understand that you do not like this thing or that you do not want this. So you have to learn to communicate, and then when the person communicates, you in different lapses, you have to find a way to understand if you truly want to be together.
Well, I think I'm just feeling like you should just do some relationship tips or that's by the way.
All right, it's. We're going healthy living?
Yes, let's launch it and see what they have for us.
Okay, let's launch healthy living and see what they have for us.
These are the facts. People of all ages can be affected by the coronavirus. However, older people and people with pre-existing medical conditions such as asthma, diabetes, heart diseases are more vulnerable to the disease. It is not for old people alone. Gargling salt and warm water or chewing garlic and ginger cannot prevent the virus. Drinking alcohol, hot lemon, palm oil or chloroquine will not kill the virus. The virus cannot be transmitted through mosquito bites. Antibiotics do not work against the viruses. Antibiotics work only against bacteria. Boiling pineapple peels, lime and ginger does not kill the virus. Putting raw onions in rooms will not ward off the virus. Using or spraying Dettol, special oils, and water
on the inside and the outside of the body. It can be found on places of your body you can see, such as a leg ulcer found on the skin, or in places you can see, such as a peptic ulcer in the lining of your stomach or upper intestine. From your eye to your foot, you can get them just about anywhere on your body. Injuries, diseases, and infections can cause them. What they look like depends on where you have them and how you got them. While some go away on their own, others cause serious problems if you don't treat them. Stomach ulcers are known as gastric ulcers. They are painful sores in the stomach lining. Stomach ulcers occur when the thick layer of mucus that protects your stomach from digestive juices is reduced. This allows the digestive acid to eat away at the tissues that line the stomach, causing an ulcer. Stomach ulcers may be easily cured, but they can become severe without proper treatment. The most common symptom is a burning sensation or pain in the middle of your abdomen, between your chest and belly button. Typically, the pain will become more intense when your stomach is empty, and it can last for a few minutes to several hours. Dull pain in the stomach, weight loss, not wanting to eat because of pain, vomiting, heartburn, which is a burning sensation in the chest, vomit that's bloody or looks like coffee grounds. Talk to your doctor if you have any symptoms of a stomach ulcer. Even though discomfort may be mild, ulcers can worsen if they are not treated. Bleeding ulcers can become life-threatening. Treating stomach ulcers depending on the cause of your ulcer. Most ulcers can be treated with a prescription from your doctor, but in rare cases, surgery may be required. It is important to promptly treat an ulcer. Talk to your doctor to discuss a treatment plan. If you have an actively bleeding ulcer, you will likely be hospitalized for intensive treatment with endoscopy and IV ulcer medications. You may also require a blood transfusion. To prevent the spread of bacteria that might cause a stomach ulcer, wash your hands with soap and water on a regular basis. Also, be sure to properly clean all your food and to cook it thoroughly as needed. Eat more of banana, garlic, soaking unripe plantain, foods like yogurt, milk, fiber-rich foods like apple, pears, oatmeal, and other foods that are high in fiber are good for ulcer in two ways. Fiber can lower the amount of acid in your stomach while easing bloating and pain. Research has also shown that a diet rich in fiber may also prevent ulcers. Eat more of sweet potato. It is high in vitamin A, and there is evidence that this nutrient can help shrink stomach ulcers and may also play a role in preventing them. Other foods with a good dose of vitamin include spinach, carrots, and beef liver. Avoid spicy food, coffee, or if you are prone to ulcer or you have one now, it is best to limit alcohol or avoid it altogether. Avoid chocolate. Chocolate has lots of potential health benefits, but it often causes discomfort for some people who have ulcers. If eating chocolate makes you feel worse, wait to indulge until your ulcer has healed. That's the much you have for you on healthy living today. Prevention, they say, is better than a cure. Visit your doctor if you experience persistent symptoms of an ulcer. Thanks for watching.